Okay, so welcome back everybody for the Reuben Rose Competition Awards event. This competition has a much longer history. It was established to commemorate the memory of one of our founders, Reuben Rose, after he passed away in 1989, so that today we are celebrating the winners of the 32nd annual competition. Once again, since the meeting is virtual, the certificates and prizes have been sent out in advance. The certificates do look exactly like the ones for the Bar Sagi, but I will just show you one of them, since not all of the winners or the guests here tonight are members of Voices and know what our certificates look like. Okay, so I'm going to go back to that, to Acrobat, and there, that is the Reuben Rose certificate for the first prize winner. We will get to the poems in due course. So first of all, I would like to thank this year's judges, Ricky Rappaport-Friesum, who was last year's first prize winner, Jane Seitel, who was last year's second prize winner, and David Kaplan, this year's overseas judge, who is a poetry professor and of course a poet himself. Judging a competition that receives several hundred entries a year is a lot of work, and I'm so grateful to all of them for finding the time and the energy to be our judges. So let us please all show our appreciation by giving them a round of applause. Okay, unfortunately, Jane Seitel couldn't be with us tonight, and David has to leave early. So we arranged that he would be able to give his comments before he had to leave. So I will now, without delay, invite David Kaplan, our overseas judge, to give us his comments. David?
Good morning or good afternoon, depending upon where we are.
Good evening.
I'd like to, good evening, I'm sorry. I'd like to congratulate the award winners and express my appreciation for the poems that they wrote. I was struck not only by the quality of the poems, but also by the range of their interests and styles. Two of the prize winners turned to nature as a point of contrast to comparison to human life. Others explore human history, drawing from personal anecdotes and familiar stories, sometimes with ironic humor, other times darkened with a tragic sense of life. Some poems move between Hebrew and English, pondering the best translation of a name as a means to understand identity, or Arabic, Hebrew, and English. Even when the poems return to political difficulties, they seem less trapped by impossibility than enlivened by the poetic possibilities that these conflicts present. In short, I was very heartened to see the vitality of the poetry and the impressive range of both individual and collective achievements. So thank you very much for having me involved. I just have to apologize. As mentioned, I have to go teach very shortly, so I won't be able to stay for the whole ceremony. But again, I'd like to thank you for letting me be involved in this contest and in your poetry community also. So thank you.
And thank you very much, David, for those comments and for the judging and for managing, despite your tight schedule, to be with us tonight. We really do appreciate it. I understand that our second judge, Ricky Friesum, also has a few comments. Ricky is an award-winning poet and has twice been the first prize winner of this competition herself, most recently just last year, as I said before. So I'm sure we're all looking forward to hearing what Ricky has to say as well. Ricky?
Hi, I'm here. First of all, good evening, and I'd like to thank all of you in Voices who administered this contest. It was so well done, and the publicity obviously worked because it's international. And this year, I don't know if it's happened before, the three top winners are from the USA. I think 4 of the honorable mentions are also from abroad, including Australia. So you've done a wonderful job of reaching out. And it's been an overwhelming experience and a privilege to judge this contest. The good news is I think that this year there were brilliant entries. I don't use this word very often, but I was overwhelmed by the talent of some of these poems. The bad news is that judging them, all of them, and there were over 350, I believe, was a difficult experience. We live in difficult times, and there was so much loss and loneliness and longing in so many of the poems that I just want to end by saying I'm very heartened that we have young people and that the Bar Sagi Prize is showing so much promise. And I look forward to reading more poems in the future, but maybe we can reflect a better time than this current one that we're living through. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ricky. Show our appreciation for Ricky. Thank you for judging despite the difficulty of the task, and thank you for being with us tonight and for giving us your comments. And then a special thank you, as usual, to Mark Levinson, who is the long-term administrator of the competition. I'm constantly awed by Mark's expertise and experience. The smooth running of the competition and the success is in large measure due to him. So again, everyone, I'm going to ask you for a round of applause, this time for Mark. I'd now like to invite Mark, who I'm sure has some comments to share with us. Mark?
Thank you, Judy, and thanks to the judges, Ricky and David and Jane Seitel, for conscientiously reading through well over 300 poems. I'd like to remind everybody that the 13 poems you're about to hear will all be printed in the next issue of Voices Israel, and in the meantime, they're also posted on our website. So if they go by too fast, just consult them later. As administrator of the competition, sometimes I open the mail and I see a message that says, "Dear Reuben." So I want to clarify that the competition is in memory of Reuben Rose, who was the heart and soul of our group and the workhorse for many years. And he was always interested in forming international ties. So I don't know this year whether he would have been prouder that our top 3 winners are from the USA, or sadder that we wound up with no winners from the UK. Reuben was from Wales himself, and he had the sense of musicality that is popularly associated with the territory. So I think that for our next competition, we should send drones to drop leaflets in Oxford and Cambridge and in Cardiff. Our first prize winner wrote back to me recalling that she'd already won in 1994, and I didn't actually remember that. I had to look it up, and I found that in 1994, the winner was Jessica Rosenfeld. This year, she's back under the same name in Hebrew. This year, she's Yiska Rosenfeld. And her poem is "The Morning After a Vipassana Retreat."
Okay.
Have I got that right? Yiska, over to you.
I think I just wait a second while I share the screen. Hold on a moment. Because as I'm sure people may have realized by now, the next item in my PDF list is the poems. So Jessica or Yiska, it's all yours.
Thank you, and thank you for outing me. I have, my given name is Jessica, but I actually took on the name Yiska about, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, but started using it full time at least 20 some years ago. So some people don't even know that my given name is Jessica. And I also wanted to say, before I read, thank you to the judges. And I wanted to say thank you to Judy, because she has had to help me with the logistics of things that related to the prize, and she's done a wonderful job of communicating. And I also wanted a final thank you to say that I feel like the real blessing, and this is very sincere, of winning the prize this year was getting to hear the poems from the young poets. I'm still responding to them. I still can feel it in my body. I was very moved by those poems. I was moved that there is a poet who has taken on a non-binary name, as I have a transgender daughter who changed pronouns when she was around 5 years old. So it means a lot to me to honor those names and pronouns. The morning after a Vipassana retreat. Always sit by the south window where the ferned stone staircase leads up, eucalyptus trunks even more so, to see how the magnolia blossoms contemplate attachment, pink petals scattered on the dark ground. Those twisted branches could be snakes, succulents sewn from ribboned tongues. Still, this garden tells no stories. The vast left wall swathed in hushed green moss. On the table, a bowl of thin porridge steams, applesauce pooling its middle, salt crunch of almonds, tart melt of cubed cheddar. All this in one bowl, one mouth, quietly chewing. Conversations ring out like the full-throated frogs in last night's pond, a din not unlike silence in its thick uniformity. If I were a small egg-shaped stone in the garden, no one would notice me but me.
Thank you very much, Iska. This is not a plot on our part, but from the small egg-shaped stone in the garden there, we go to a poem called Small Stone, which is the second prize winner. And the poet is Amy Small McKinney, who deserves special thanks along with all the others from non-Israeli time zones who've made the effort to be here. Is Amy ready?
Yes, hi. Hello, everyone. Thank you to the judges, to Mark and Judy, and to the other poets. I'm in wonderful company. Okay, so this is the poem, Small Stone. I have no idea where you came from or why I didn't think of this before. How grief has forced me to become the other, the thing, white dolomite, coarsely crystalline, pleated through with gray. I don't mind gray. I am grayer now too. My body all sharp points, broken crests, shaped into jagged angles. Without him, I am both primitive and new. Stone, I don't know where my beloved found you, but know where I am taking you. In July, when the air is too moist for movement, I will move with you anyway toward his headstone, place you on its crest with certainty. What does certainty have to do with death or stones? I want to fill myself with something he touched, an assurance of atoms, as if I could become that tap or trace or air between them. Stone, if I eat you, will you become perfect wisdom inside of me? How does a thing vanish? I don't know. But you, my stone, blotch through with agreeable gray, won't petal drop or fade away, even when I am lost or becoming. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Very nice. The third prize winner, coincidentally, has no mention of a stone in it. And that must be why it's called No Mention. The poet is Elizabeth Edelglass from the USA. Is she with us?
I am here.
Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me. And I would like to say that I also was very moved and touched by hearing the young poets read today, especially because I, despite my age, feel that I am a very young poet. I am a lifelong fiction writer who has just begun to study poetry over Zoom during the pandemic. So I'm very honored to be with you on Zoom today. My poem is titled No Mention. I was named for Queen Elizabeth, defender of the faith and supreme governor of the Church of England, which seems an odd choice for a Jewish father just back from the war and a mother whose relatives may or may not have flamed in the furnaces of that war. No one spoke of it. They called me Elisheva in Hebrew school. Elisheva rates only one line in the Torah, and that just to name her father, her brother, her husband, her sons. Later, when her sons are consumed by fire, Elisheva isn't mentioned at all. Imagine, at the joyous inauguration of the tabernacle, 2 of her sons bring fire as a gift to God, and God instead incinerates them. If Elisheva weeps or wails or rends her cloak, no one speaks of it. The usual translation of Elisheva is God is my oath. But you can also translate the name to mean my God is satisfied. I'm a mother now. I have 2 sons. I rail at God for giving one a disease I dare not mention. My oaths are curses, and I will never be satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. From here, we're going to the honorable mentions, and I want to stress that the honorable mentions are presented in random order, not according to any ranking. The voting among the honorable mentions was very close, and it was also very close between the honorable mentions and the winners. The first poem we have among these is by Adam Schönbrunn from Israel. The title is The Return, and I understand Adam is being...
Abraham.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we had an Adam Schönbrunn once. May he rest in peace. They may be related. Avraham Schönbrunn. The reader is Avram Alim. And let's hear it.
Who is reading it? Avril.
I have Avril, yes.
Avril, are you ready? Are you Avril was here.
I'm here, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
Okay. The return. It resonates across the land, from the Jordan to the Great Sea. It cajoles and coaxes from Eilat to Galilee. Return, return to me. From the room of my hills and valleys, across my fields, your first steps you trod hesitantly. Come, come to me. O wandering daughter of Zion, enough of your poems composed in praise of me, inditing my beauty and glory. My beloved Yeshurun, return, return to me. From your lips, let me not hear yet another psalmody of your persistent yearning by the rivers of Babylon. Come, come to me. I do not require your tongue to cleave to your palate, nor your right arm lose its cunning. My only desire is that you return, return to me.
Thank you, Avril. That wasn't an easy one to read.
Yeah.
Dealing with the repetitions. Let's go on to Michael Greenberg. He's the next honorable mention. His poem is called The Kibbutz. Michael is from Israel. And I know I've seen him on the screen here. Can he be found? Does he have to speak up in order to be visible?
Michael, are you perhaps muted? I did see Michael before, so I'm not quite sure why we're not seeing him now.
Okay, let's take a look.
He's here, but he needs to unmute.
Michael, would you please unmute? Okay, hold us on a second. Let me see.
He was
Whether
unmuted for a second there. Yes.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
unmuted. Can you make it larger, please? Judy?
Yeah.
The print.
Okay,
make
hold
the
on.
print larger?
Let's see what I can do here. Is that better?
Okay, very good. Much better. Okay. One thing I would like to mention is that coincidentally, this poem is corresponds really to Yom HaShoah. And it's really an appropriate poem for that day of remembrance. The kibbutz. Salach was a mashtal, a collaborator. At least that's what Harry told me, and Harry since has died, and Salach too, I guess. When Arabs were under military rule, the kibbutz men smuggled Salach in the hay to work in fields throughout the day. I worked in chickens. Dyszewski was in charge. Each day began strong and black. Hungarian Jews, thick cream and noodles on Saturday mornings, topped with peanuts, poppy seed, and sugar. Who was crazy? Who was not? Judy?
Can you not see it?
I can't see anymore.
Oh, I don't know why. Can everybody else see it? I can.
Okay,
Yes,
who
there
was
may be a
crazy?
delay.
Who was not? Tatya's brother killed himself, as did others. Dyszewski escaped to discover no one close had survived. Robbie had been kept in Mengele's keep, after the war, when Robbie had been taken in because they spoke Hungarian, were asked to be a refuge for the enfeebled man. Castrated, Salach said. Robbie's father came and watched his son from afar, the fat phantom of whom he had been.
Okay, I'm moving it up, so you may need to wait until you see it again.
Who was sane, who insane? Alex came on Kastner's train. Erna was saved by Wallenberg. But I can't see it.
Again, I think your connection is very slow because I just moved it up.
Should have brought my eye.
Okay, in a second you'll see it again. No, you can't?
Okay. No, I can't. The fat phantom of whom he had been. Who was sane, who insane? Alice came on Kastner's train. Erna was saved by Wallenberg. A Mauthausen, Ronchi, sneaked one night into his father's place. The following day, he found no more children lay where he had lain, empty, all gassed. Shoshana went from camp to camp, cutting the SS hair. And over the mountains, somewhere, on her escape after the war, that war, she lost the only photo of her parents she possessed. They came to Israel young, parentless, always asking why they had survived.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, we're scrolling onward. This is what's known as poetry in motion. The next honorable mention is a poem by Judith Robinson. She's from the USA. And the title is Poem for My Father. Do we have Judith online?
I did see her here.
I think I did too. I recall a light background, I think.
Here I am.
Oh, great.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be in the company I am. Thank you so much. This is called Poem for My Father. My father smoked Camels, 2 packs a day. He wore a fedora, worked like crazy, and believed he was lucky, that his life was better than his father's. They're not as hard on the Jews now. I heard him tell my Uncle Dave many times. Actually, they discussed how good or bad things were for the Jews for 40 years, and who the enemies were, which ones were worse than the others, and the pirates, the poor pirates, always in the cellar, year after year. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Where I was, it was the Red Sox, but the poem resonates.
Thank you.
The next one we have is by Reuben Goldfarb from Israel.
Hi, Mark.
Red
I'm here.
Bead. Yes, hi, Reuben.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, coming
Okay.
through loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. This poem is called Red Bead. It was inspired by an article in Times of Israel about a discovery that was made in the course of an archaeological excavation in Jerusalem. Introduce it with an epigraph from the book of Exodus. And they set in the breastplate 4 rows of stones. The first row, carnelian, emerald, topaz. In Jerusalem, 7 millennia ago, long before the city had acquired its name, there was a precious bead made of a gemstone, a carnelian, shaped by a craftsman, carved, drilled, and polished for a woman's necklace to adorn her bosom and throat, to decorate her mortal body. A treasured object, one that has long lain beside her bones. Today, chipped and scarred, but still intact, and deep red to its core. Balanced between the thumb and forefinger of an archaeologist, it's conveyed by a high-resolution photograph taken by the woman who led the dig, flashed to a fiber optic cable to me, and soon to rest on a museum shelf, displayed in a secure vitrine. For how many millennia more? Thank you.
Thank you, Reuben. Good question at the end. Next up is Bob Dyszewski. He is here in person, right?
Again, I've seen him.
Yeah. The name of the poem is Arabic 1972. We're strict in the competition that we judge poems one by one. This was actually one of a pair of poems, but the other one will have to win
Mark,
a prize in another year.
1973.
1973. Sorry about that.
Important difference there.
Yes. Well, 72 is not 73. But is Bob Dyszewski with us?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for this honor and opportunity. Arabic 1973. If you insist on learning Arabic, your goal should be to read the guide in its original, my Rosh Yeshiva said, admittedly perplexed at my request. Professor Offman taught the rudiments of what I sought, the serendipity of daily conversation. Ana kaman Amerikani wa kaman Yahud, I haltingly declared, my gracious host who served me tea his family gathered round. Their town, Batir, Beitar, Bar Kokhba's final stand, the ruin of the Jews, renowned for ancient terraces, ingenious use of flowing springs, a rail stop to Jerusalem. I took my leave and walked the quiet street. A stone that came from nowhere grazed my cheek. Another stone.
Another stone. I hope that this was also a small one.
Yes.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Dina Yehuda is next. I certainly know she's here
Yes, I am.
and reading carefully as well.
Thank you, Mark. If I just have a minute, I just want to remind our poets to send in poems to the anthology, which is our submissions are closing in 4 days. So I know many of you have not sent in your wonderful poems. Sometimes, as Mark told me, the best poems come at the end. So I'm really waiting for them. Please send them in. Okay, this is called Rachav. I have lived in the narrow in-between places, traded in secrets, picked up and discarded like cats in the alleyway. But when the spies came, I could not abandon them. I hid them from my people, for they seemed not strangers, but familiar, having seen them in a dream past. The future blazing in their eyes, I saw Jericho burning. So I turned my back on the gods I grew up with, on my childhood friends, on the family next door I could not save. Now my destiny hangs on a fragile scarlet thread of hope.
Thank you very much, Dina. But you left me up in the air here. Suppose I want to send a poem to Voices Israel Anthology. How do I do that?
Thank you, Mark. Yes, so please look up in Google, look up Voices Israel Anthology, and you will get to a wonderful website. And thank you, all the good people in Voices, and just do submit. And the instructions are very, very clear. And if you have any trouble, then email me or Judy, and we will help you with it.
Thank you, Dina.
And Dina's email is very, very easy to remember. It is bestdj@google.com.
At gmail.com. Yes, I'll write it in the chat.
Sorry, at gmail.com. Yeah.
Yes, I'm always surprised that Dina is also a DJ. We've heard wonderful things for the last several minutes. So now for a change of pace, Celia Merlin will tell us about things that it sucks to hear.
Well, I have a request because I can see that I can't see the whole poem. So maybe if you can make the writing a little smaller, that might help me.
There we go.
Okay, so I'll just preface it first of all to thank everybody for all the work on this contest. This is kind of a negative response to a very positive poem that I read online by Andrea Gibson, something that's called Things That Don't Suck, and this is called Things It Sucks to Hear. Your parents having sex, man spewing spit on the sidewalk, sighs of your dying dog, the DJ, sorry, I can't see, oops. The DJ saying, this crowd sucks. The sales lady telling the vagrant to leave. The umpire yelling, strike 3 at your team. The pop of your tooth while you're biting a bone. The fart of your lover in bed. The whimpers of kids in their sleep. An alarm at airport security. The doctor, we did what we could. The crash of a car off the road. The words of a sinner in prayer. The husband whispering, can't talk now. The spray of cologne as he dresses, the close of the door as he leaves, the tick of the clock while waiting, the tick, the tock, the tick of the clock while waiting.
Yes, thank you, Celia. We'll go on to Rivka Nomberg. from the USA. Her poem is called Bookmark. And I believe I've seen her here too. Rivka?
Hello, thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Mm-hmm. And you are Rivka, although the square on the screen says Randy Brodsky.
Right. Pseudonyms.
Mm-hmm. You're entitled.
Bookmark. I find these in my books. Stoppers, starters, secrets, a feather, an art museum brochure, half a shopping list, a nail file, a torn envelope, my AAA card, occasionally a photo. When I close my eyes in bed, last night's dream appears in my mind, opening to yesterday's page, a mental bookmark, a map, a receipt. Night introduces its successor. My great-grandfather, the chief rabbi of Lodz, spent days and nights studying Talmud. He taught generations of boys, but he secretly loved to teach his granddaughter. When they finished another tractate, they would celebrate. His wife would bring cookies. He would pluck one of his long gray beard hairs, a promise, and use it to keep her page.
Thank you, Randy. And thank you, Rivka. Now, someone we haven't seen for several seconds now, Judy Cohen, who happens to be president of our organization and received honorable mention from a panel of judges unaware of her identity, I would like to say. Judy's poem is called A Gentle Villanelle.
Okay, thank you, Mark. This is a reply to Dylan Thomas's Do Not Go Gentle, which everybody knows, which is also a villanelle. And perhaps for the benefit of our young poets here who might not have met the form, a villanelle is one of very many types of formal poems, like a sonnet, a limerick, etc. A villanelle has its own form, which you will see here. The poet raged. He had no need to pray for gentleness when exiting the night, that peaceful sleep would mark the close of day. He never met with friends at a cafe, wondering if a firebomb would ignite. The poet raged. He had no need to pray terrorists would not shoot him on his way. His child would safely from each bus alight, that peaceful sleep would mark the close of day. He did not need to find words to convey his thankfulness at reaching one more night. The poet raged. He had no need to pray. We rage at those who slaughter, burn, and slay, who target innocence with dynamite, though peaceful sleep should mark the close of day. We rage when mothers die, children at play, not for old men whose lives were full and bright. The poet raged. He had no need to. Pray that peaceful sleep will mark the close of day.
Thank you, Judy. Not a stone poem, but you sort of threw a stone to Goliath with that one. Last, and I hope I don't have to say not least, as I mentioned, the honorable mentions are in random order. We have Ian Pettit from Australia, where at this moment it is very early in the morning. So
But
special
he promised
thanks.
me he would be here.
I think I saw him. Didn't I see him?
Great. I was so impressed when he said it will be, well, it will be 4 or 5 a.m. by the time he gets to read his poem, but he is going to be here.
And is he here? Is he here? Well, maybe his alarm didn't go off. I'm looking at the list of participants, and he's not there alphabetically.
Oh dear.
Of course, anybody could read this poem. It's quite an easy one, right?
Well, may I invite you? If Ian isn't here, perhaps you would read it for him then? You set yourself up for that one, Mark.
I guess I did. Well, if I stumble, then please bear with me. Let me see here.
He was so sure, he was so sure he was going to be here that I did not arrange a backup proxy. Just for him.
Well, you know, alarm clocks are just only as good as they are. So this is the bipolar stingray. I'm not going to try to do the accent. It's the inshore waters, East Coast Australia, off Wollongong. A mixed bottom of sand, gravel, weed, shell fragments, wobbegong sharks, army camouflage pattern, red and black bream. Moon does lime, cream eyeball between herringbone clouds over a fishing skiff. Cubes of bait bounce amongst the fish's salty soprano riff. My stingray father feels electrical signals from my mum. He pursues her, nipping at her pectoral disc, inserts one of his claspers into her receptive valve. She stores the sperm for a year, waiting for better reproductive conditions. I'm one of 7 pups. Coexistence womb content. Coexistence womb content, I suppose. Digest nutrients from the yolk sac, then from the milk of uterus. A female homunculus, I'm born over sandy bottom where I bury myself to hide from predators. Venture out gingerly to hunt by smell, ampullae of Lorenzini. Grow to maturity, feel the pelvic hunger, psychic pain of all the ovarian longing. Hormonal males begin lustily chasing me. I'm caught between maternal urges, fear of virginity's loss, and the joys of copulation. Bliss and sorrowful blood, a precocious, stronger male succeeds in restricting and penetrating me. An inner wave spreads to my quivering wings, reverberates, magnifies, and cues. My mind and body race, while my mood is one of elation, increased emotional sensitivity. Dermis too thin, I think grandiosely, the queen of rays, libido surges. I prance, nosedive on plant, pirouette and somersault, kelp vault. I expose my valued vulval valve to all, thrall and sunny. The waves, whipped egg whites, start whispering and get louder. Stingray inhabits a world of abdominal darkness, stuck in muck. Your eyes are unable to see your seabed or food. You're just split like your moods. The foreign voice relentless for a fortnight. For a further one, my emotions become a neap tide, light. Then my spirits plunge and bury themselves in the benthic base. I'm pessimistic, lethargic, appetite and weight lost, my self-esteem low. I'm overwhelmed. My thoughts and speech lose speed. My concentration suffers. My flat head and my wings muscles lengthily ache. I'm beset with beliefs of being futile, worthless, my life empty. I believe I've committed grave sins. I experience these phase pairs in autumn and spring lesions. I consult a therapist who suggests a mood leveler. I find an outcrop of undersea lithium carbonate. I happily chomp daily. Perturbations abate.
Thank you, Mark. That was very bravely undertaken and very successfully. I was dying to ask Ian if he had ever seen a stingray who suffered from bipolar disorder. Certainly he has a wonderful imagination, and it occurred to me that we have now had 2 persona poems that imagine being fish, one from Gila and one from Ian. So one in each competition. So thank you very much. I can now stop sharing. Okay.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you once again to all our winners and to our members and our guests for such an enjoyable ceremony. But please don't go away, people, because it's becoming a Voices tradition to end our national events with an open mic reading. And we have 8 members who have volunteered to entertain us with a poem each. 4 from Israel, 2 from Canada, and 2 from the US. I figured it would be nice to alternate poets from each country in turn. So I've sent them all the list. And first, I would like to call on Lindsay Soberano from Canada to read her poem, Tikkun Olam. Lindsay, are you with us? Lindsay? Let's have a look at who the participants are. Lindsay is here, I can see her, but she's muted. Would you please unmute yourself, Lindsay? Okay, I've asked her to unmute, but I cannot unmute her. So if she doesn't, Lindsay, please unmute. Okay, I suggest that we should go on to the next person and hope that Lindsay, and if she is muted and she isn't unmuting, it may be that she's just popped out for a moment. So hopefully she will be back later. Meanwhile, let us go on to the next person, who is Avril Mealem. Avril, please unmute yourself and read to us No Matter.
Okay. No matter. No matter where I look, I see your hand. No matter how sad I may be, I hear your comforting voice. No matter how lonely I feel, I know you are beside me. No matter how far I fall, I know you will be there to catch me. No matter how far away I travel, I know you'll be waiting there for me. No matter how many tears I may cry, I know your love will cradle my pain. No matter how long I will live, when the time comes for me to leave, I know you'll be there to welcome me home.
Thank you, Avril. Lovely. Next, we have Sylvia Koffler from...
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. And Sylvia is from the US, and she's going to read to us Trinkets.
Trinkets. The silver curlicue earrings are ribbons flowing from her earlobes. Every day she wears them, compliments abound. And she explains that she bought them in Trondheim, Norway. It is not the frivolous purchase of the trinket that brings her joy, but the memory of a trip to a city her father used to tell stories about. She remembers climbing a steep spiral staircase to the top of Niadros' cathedral, with her smiling friends looking at the fjord, wondering if he climbed those stairs during World War II.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you.
This issue.
Thank you. Okay, and now we have Isaac Cohen from Israel, who will read us The Unity of Lovers. And I know Isaac's here. I even chatted to him earlier. Isaac?
Thank you, dear Judy, and all my friends in Voices and all the world. Isaac Cohen, The Face of Love. Your eyes light up the path. Your dimples invite me to rest in them. How could I be calm with beauty such as yours? I drew the main road to your house. Your giggles change the color of the sky. The lake reflected your face on my body. Night to lovers. Your face diffused into me, and we come to kindle the sun. Can you see love? Face. Thank you, Isaac Cohen, Israel.
Thank you, Isaac. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we're back to Canada. Simon Constance, are you here?
I'm here, Judy, and
Great.
may I screen share my poem while I read it? If you can enable me to do that, that would be great.
Let me see if I actually can do that.
In the drop down right beside screen
no, it's
share.
okay. I know how to do it, but multiple participants, all participants.
Yeah, that one. That one. You
Okay.
just click that one.
Yeah. Okay. Multiple participants usually does it. See if you
Okay.
can screen share.
Yes, I've got it there. So my poem is called Text, and this is a poem from the book of mine that was recently published by Whiffenstock Publishers in the United States. My book is called Brought Down, and the poem is Text. Rabbi Aharon Zalman Lieb brought down from above that a wife should be allowed to be present in a room unaccompanied with a man not her husband if the general society deems the man to be worthy of such trust. So doctors she may be with, lawyers she may be with, policemen investigating a crime she may be with, delivery men she may not. She must transact the exchange of money for parcel at her open front door. The issue of plumbers and repairmen, on the other hand, is a difficult one. Women should be wary. Passers-by may well interpret incorrectly. This is not to say that exceptions are not possible for the representatives of well-known companies, but all agree that cousins, brothers-in-law, and the friends of husbands are not permissible, so he ruled. Now it is true that some have disputed Reb Lieb's pronouncements. The philosopher Eliezer Greenshaft, Zion of a great rabbinical house, himself a God-fearing man, looked up into the sky within which the world floats and saw as perfectly legible as if on paper God's intention. Eliezer seated himself at the great oak table his family had owned for more than 200 years and brought down onto the page the idea that women should be free of all rules and restrictions such as Reb Lieb had promulgated. Some sages say that we do not think our own thoughts nor dream our own dreams, that there is a heavenly text from which we draw the days of our lives. And though we act upon each other, we cannot be assured that what we think is causing good, rather deeply wounding. We know that holiness lies in every place we look, in every man and woman we meet. Therefore, if it is true that our understanding is incomplete, regardless, our behavior never seems to be uncertain. But if our belief is too unflinching, we may never be able to understand the world. How hard it is to sit at a desk observing both text and raucous city streets. Often the two do not reconcile to anyone's satisfaction. Why would God respect two views stubbornly opposed, inimical to each other, drawing families apart? And is there anywhere a trial which will settle the matter? O Holy One, must we resolve ourselves in you? The distance is too great, and you are so different from us. We must settle this in ourselves. Now is when you should stand back. not allow yourself to be invoked or quoted.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Thank you. Okay, now we come to Miriam Weber from Israel.
Oh boy, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm all the way in Canada. I'm between
Lindsay,
classes.
you're back with us. You're back with
I can only
us.
read the poem now.
Read it now. We
I'm
skipped
between
you. You were
classes.
supposed to be.
Thank
You were
I know.
supposed to be first.
I
and
know
you
I was
weren't here.
teaching. I cut off more than I can chew. So my book is Casa de mi Corazon, a travel journal of poetry and memoir. I'm Lindsay Sobrano Wilson. Thank you for having me. The poem is called Tikkun Olam. Sometimes you lock your heart inside a dank passage you forgot you had, and then you stumble upon it, a dusty old book. At once you're hooked to a long forgotten oath. Is this what it means to be woke from a dream, a whimsical dream, like a shell of laborious protection I was sleeping in between? I see myself in the reflection merging fragmented glass to find some spirit that goes by the name of Tikkun Olam, in the shambles that tell a story from my layer of protection, nurturing the new baby born out of necessity. My baby, my life, my rebirth, reincarnation sounds like a mantra of bell cantos. Feed me before I feed you. Feed me like I feed you. Feed me too. Feed me too. Thank you. I'm sorry that the emotion came with it today, but sometimes poems you write bring new meaning at times in your life, and I'm just having one of those days.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. Thank you so much. I also get very emotional over poems, so I understand.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for being here, and I'm so glad you could get to read us
And
your
I'm
poem.
sorry to have interrupted, and thank you for being humble and accommodating.
Not humble, but we certainly tried to be accommodating. And it was lovely having you, and good luck with the rest of the evening. And now I will indeed go back to Israel, to Miriam Weber. Miriam, are you here? Miriam? Dear me, don't tell me that Miriam has disappeared on us.
No, she's back.
Miriam, would you please unmute yourself?
Okay.
Good.
I did it. Okay. I would like to say before reading that I've left all my troubles inside the house and I went into the garden.
I love your background.
Yes, my favorite picture. That's part of what I left in the house. Day's End. This is an English or Shakespearean sonnet. Cool twilight is the kindest time of day, when ruthless blazing sun, worn out, must fade. Beyond that endless sea it slips away, to leave my garden resting, calm, in shade, caressed by muted tones, more clearly seen. No stark black shadows lurk behind the leaves. Bright flowers nod and close amid the green. A quiet softness reigns as evening weaves its way across to blur each stone and pot, another stone. Grey mistiness soon spreads, erasing lines, removing things that were but now are not, till darkness wipes out all remaining signs. My garden sleeps, this so familiar spot, while sliver moon, a guardian, gently shines.
Thank you. Thank you, Miriam. Nice to have a formal poem here as well. Okay, we are moving on to the US again, to Esther Bernard. Esther, I think you are with us, but last time I saw you were muted. Yes, I can even see you. Could you unmute, please? Esther, please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself. Good.
Before I read my poem, I'd like to thank Linda Succi for getting me here on time and for all the help, with our communication. Thanks, Linda. My poem is a tribute to my husband who died a year and a half ago. I've had a dry spell, and but I did write this. I remember him scolding, "You're still on the phone? You're still on the computer? You're still not dressed?" I forgot he needed his daily hugs. I slowly noticed he skipped line dance Fridays, dropped Ola conversational group, no longer Zoomed with political cronies. I ignored his mid-sentence surrender to sleep, miss his pre-breakfast menu of morning kisses and smiles, miss petty arguments over I can't remember what, miss his being pissed when I insisted he wear that shirt. No longer am I a we, I'm an anonymous me, outsourced to cable news 24/7, hidden behind a mask of invisibility. I'm still on the phone, sharing my loss of him. I'm still on the computer, writing about us. I'm still not dressed. No one is waiting for me.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you. Another very heartfelt, emotional poem. And finally, we have Susan Orsberg, our past president from Israel, who I just saw here again. Susan?
I'm here. Right,
Great.
thank
Would
you.
you please read us? I think it's Animal Esperanto.
Yes, Animal Esperanto. You gave me a task. What sound does a horse make in Hebrew? What noise a donkey? English tradition says a horse whinnies or neighs. Do sounds cross language barriers? Here, the Israeli horse snorts, hee. Half, a dog barks if it's in Hebrew. Woof, woof, bow, wow in the Queen's English. Is there really this difference? I thought animal sounds should be in Animal Esperanto, but it seems that it is not so. Cock-a-doodle-doo blasts out the western rooster. Cookery-coo shrills my local dawn breaker. No matter, none of these speaks my language either. Yet animal minds seem wired for all language sounds, like babes in arms, as Chomsky found. On all continents, the birds, the mammals, the wild beasts, and the domestic hounds understand each other, I'll be bound.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you. Okay, so thank you, everyone. I hope this is all you feel left you feeling in need of more activities, because we have the Netanya residential workshop coming up next month in Israel. And I and our workshop coordinator, Ilana Dorfman, are also thinking about the right mix going forward of Zoomed mini workshops that all our members, including those from overseas, can attend, versus face-to-face workshops, so that those in Israel can meet up the way we used to do pre-COVID. So meanwhile, thank you again to all our guests, and especially the young poets and their parents and friends, and good night. I'll now stop recording and declare our meeting closed.
Thank you, Judy. That was a great evening, great
Thank
organization.
you. Thank you very much.
I hope you'll be able to
Thank
sleep
you very much.
tonight.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you all.
Thanks, Judy.